Hey guys, tonight we're crashing headfirst into one of history's strangest what-ifs, ancient Rome, but with Wi-Fi. Imagine Julius Caesar live tweeting the Ides of March, senators doom-scrolling through chariot memes, and public baths with suspicious pop-up ads. Not a toga party. This is the real Rome, but everybody's got internet access and nobody knows how to clear their cookies. So before you get cozy, take a second to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Only if you're genuinely entertained. And definitely not, because Augustus bribed you with bread and circuses. Let me know if you're listening from a forum, an aqueduct, or just your couch at 3 a.m. Now dim those lights, crank up the world's first ceiling fan, by which I mean your regular fan, snuggle in, and watch your feet. There's probably an emperor's lost sandal under there. Pause for a moment. Have you ever asked yourself what it would feel like to slide into a Roman day with instant DM disasters, gladiator selfies, and daily online drama? Was the Colosseum just the world's earliest viral streaming event? Did people argue about bread recipes in group chats? Could you survive ancient spam mail from questionable senators? Or would your scroll be clogged with boutique bathhouse ads? Would you accidentally start a civil war by misusing the reply all? Did centurions really post humble brags after leg day? And who exactly invented the first cat meme? Spoiler, probably someone named Gaius. And congratulations, you've just woken up in 64 AD, the city is buzzing, and Nero just went live. Welcome to ancient Rome. Now with pop-ups. You wake to the gentle ping of a notification. A slave holding a wooden eye-scroll tablet, muttering something about your new message from the emperor. Sun streams through your window, and you wonder why the light smells faintly of garum. Checking your feed before brushing your teeth, with chewed sticks naturally, you realize it's time to face Rome's daily grind. Only this time, you've got followers to disappoint and a status to update. If ancient Rome had Wi-Fi, your morning wouldn't feel so different from today's. The notifications never stop. Marcus commented on your toga. Livia mentioned you in a forum post about last night's vomitorium. The anxiety of being perpetually plugged in spans centuries. You're both eager and afraid to see what's waiting in the scroll. You half expect an ominous DM from Julius Caesar himself. Et tu, user, or at least a passive-aggressive poking from your neighbor who's still sore about the garden gnome incident at Saturnalia. Before your feet touch that beautifully chilled marble floor, thank you, Hippocaust. You're already doom-scrolling. Rome's hottest trending topic, new photos from the Colosseum. Yes, Titus finally soft-launched his new pair of gladiators. Yes, someone inevitably posted a meme about their sword game. You squint at the captions, slaying it, literally. Even millennia before the meme economy, the jokes were somehow the same, and already you feel the creeping dread of missing out. Did you RSVP, maybe, to that Bacchus-themed wine party tonight? Or did you offend someone by not liking their mosaic selfie? Your messenger feed is a chaotic parade. Senators hawking their latest grain subsidy. Philosophers quoting themselves in cryptic, artsy fonts. Street vendors desperately sliding into your GMs. Hey King, you need garum? I got that primo batch, no sand. In Rome, influencer culture is as cutthroat as any arena match. Last week, you lost a dozen followers after posting an inflammatory hot take on garum purity. The backlash spilled into your forum mentions. One user, a Ghoul Girl, called you as rotten as the sauce you endorse. You debate subtweeting her, but remember the last time you dragged a legionnaire. Bad move. The algorithm, it seems, never forgets. Meanwhile, your family group chat is blowing up. Your mother sends yet another reminder to offer incense to the household gods before noon. Your cousin Gaius has changed his profile pic to that bust. He definitely didn't commission himself. There's the obligatory chain message threatening 7 years of bad harvest if you don't light a candle for Jupiter by sundown. You scroll, you sigh. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Out in the courtyard, you catch the scent of fresh bread. Your neighbour is live streaming her daily dawn baking again, narrating every knead and twist. By the third like, she's already tagged 3 neighbours to show your crust. You wonder fleetingly if you should go artisanal, document your own rustic loaves, or stick to careful reposts of other people's amphora collections. The pressure is real. In Wi-Fi Rome, everyone is curating, hustling, posting, networking. As you shuffle to the baths for a quick post, you remember the odd comfort in scrolling through Tribune updates, birth and death announcements, and those ever-present scrolls promising one weird trick to improve your forum influence. Gladiators hate this. Information, rumor, propaganda. Rome's digital grapevine tangles it all up. You smile at a short video of a cat terrifying a senator, then pause on a long thread, theorizing that the Pantheon's dome is a hoax. The debates get spicy, the banter relentless. Even in the ancient world, the comments section burns brightest in the morning. Finally, you stand at the threshold, brush in hand, followers awaiting. To post or not to post? You craft your status with the same care as a poet's slave penning an ode. Rose with the sun, smelled the garum, ready to conquer, but first, espresso. Some things, like the existential angst of the morning scroll, are truly timeless. Forget steel-cut oats. Your breakfast involves a suspicious egg, leftover bread, and a live stream where viewers debate if you'll contract botulism. Your neighbour, Marcus, is already posting reviews of his breakfast figs. Blessed. You didn't plan for this to be a daily production. It's just that, somewhere between boiling water and realising the milk went off yesterday, the idea of eating in silence felt archaic. Instead, your phone props up against the chipped sugar bowl, camera angled just right so that the suspicious egg's good side faces out. The comments scroll in. That egg looks vintage, retro chic. And, is that bread artisanal or just old? 3 people have already run a poll on whether the mould adds flavour or takes away years from your life expectancy. Meanwhile, Marcus is outside on his patio, basking like a lizard in smartphone sunlight, arranging his figs in concentric circles. Breakfast is spiritual nourishment, his caption proclaims. 7 likes before you can even butter your bread. There's an art to his angles. Always a shaft of morning light. Always just the right filter. Glow up. You squint down at your own offering. A half-eaten crust and a coffee ring that's become, tragically, the most photogenic part of your meal. It's not that you're jealous. Not exactly. It's just that, somehow, breakfast has evolved from a private ritual of toast crumbs and indifference into a competitive sport. At 7:45 a.m., you're juggling spatulas, filters, hashtag choices, and the sneaking suspicion that nobody actually eats the meals they photograph. Rebecca from 2 floors up has gone full-on continental. Croissant, fresh juice, an espresso that looks almost sentient. In the background, a stack of unread New Yorkers, as if to say, I rise, not just for breakfast, but enlightenment. Your own audience is more interactive. Will the egg make it? Someone asks, followed by a gif of a brunch funeral. A debate breaks out over how long eggs can last in the fridge. A non-expert weighs in with, my aunt once ate a 3-week-old omelette and just became stronger. Science. The pressure to perform mounts. You begin narrating, David Attenborough style. Here we observe the urban human in its native kitchen, waging psychological warfare with breakfast. The chat appreciates this. Someone suggests a side-by-side taste test. The toast versus your dignity. Breakfast, once utilitarian, now feels like public theatre. You glance at Marcus's feed. He's musing about foraging and the ephemerality of fruit, while a drone shot shows off his succulent arrangement. Your own attempt at visual intrigue, zooming in on the bread's mole pattern, elicits a flurry of mushroom emojis. There's camaraderie in these tiny scandals. Nobody expects perfection, just spectacle. As you chew, your viewers collectively hold their breath, and possibly their gag reflexes. You reminisce about simpler mornings, the cloak of anonymity while spooning peanut butter over whatever passed as bread. The gentle hum of the fridge, indifferent to presentation or peer review. The world, it seems, has traded sincerity for engagement, silence for audience participation. Is this what progress looks like? An arms race of photogenic calories and quirky banter. But then someone comments, I make the same breakfast every morning, been too ashamed to show it. Feel seen. The effect is immediate. Confession begets confession, and suddenly everyone's sharing their most unglamorous routines. Marcus's figs are momentarily forgotten in the delight of solidarity. Burnt toast, vitamin tablets, black coffee that tastes like paperwork. This is the real breakfast club. No dress code, no filters, just a gentle collective exhale. You take another bite, braced for culinary disaster, but comforted by the chorus of breakfasts gone wrong. Your mouldy bread becomes a symbol, your egg a rallying point for the gloriously imperfect. Long live ugly breakfasts, someone declares. As you end the stream, you consider tomorrow's menu. Same eggs, same bread, new audience. Maybe you realize it's not about the meal, it's about showing up. Cracked eggs, cracked screens, and all. Personal grooming in Rome means public baths and communal sponges. Imagine going viral because someone caught you dropping your strigil. At least you can post before and after shots, even if everyone's hair is suspiciously olive-oiled. For the Romans, daily cleanliness wasn't just a private matter, it was a social event. Going to the baths was like attending a combination of a gym, a social club, and a modern spa. The real influencer status, though, was reserved for whoever could bring the most dramatic transformation. Think glow-up reels, but with more pumice stones and less retinol. If you wanted to set trends, you didn't need a ring light. You just strutted past the caldarium looking like you owned the place. Body oiled, toga, artfully draped, and maybe a borrowed peacock for that extra wow factor. Let's talk products, because the Romans weren't shopping from sponsored Instagram ads. Yet. The must-have toiletry kit included a strigil, a metal scraper used for cleaning sweat and oil from the skin, olive oil as the cleanser and moisturizer all in one, and a communal sponge on a stick, also known as the tersorium, for, well, bathroom tasks. That's right, sharing your favorite self-care tools was not only common, it was practically mandatory. If you were caught rinsing your tersorium and humming the Roman equivalent of a TikTok jingle, you wouldn't be alone. Everyone's hygiene routine was on display. Bathhouses were where the comments section really came alive. Gossip mingled with the steam, and everyone had tips on how to achieve peak radiance. Rub more pumice here, use less oil there. Never trust a guy who skips the cold plunge. There were even niche trends and product recommendations. Some swore by imported scents from Alexandria, while others vouched for the exfoliating power of Mediterranean sea salt. If you wanted to stand out, you needed your own signature approach, maybe a dramatic pre-bath flex, or a uniquely perfumed beard. Of course, not every Roman had access to luxe thermal baths. The fancy influencer baths charged admission, so everyday folk often bathed in rivers or managed with smaller neighborhood facilities. But the performance aspect remained. You still wanted to look and smell your best, just in case someone started spreading rumors about your hygiene. Nothing like a good "he only uses one sponge" and scandal to ruin your week. And don't forget the aftercare. Once your pores were squeaky clean and you'd had your fill of communal exfoliation, the next step was moisturizing and styling. Olive oil wasn't just for salads, it was massaged into hair and skin alike, giving everyone that dewy influencer sheen. For the ultimate flex, you might dab on some rare perfume, maybe myrrh or rose oil, or casually mention your cousin sent it direct from Egypt, even if cousin was code for the merchant at the forum. If anyone asked, you'd claim it was a limited edition. Hygiene even bled into public health campaigns, Roman style. Statues and mosaics sometimes included reminders about washing up, not as snappy as a Rembrandt toothpaste ad, but effective in their own way. Leading citizens occasionally sponsored new bathhouses or had their names inscribed on platforms. Both clout and a spotless public image. The message was clear. Cleanliness wasn't just next to godliness, it was key to social approval. All in all, Roman hygiene meant sharing everything. Little bottles of imported oil, marble benches, the semi-awkward moment when you made eye contact during a group scrub. Still, it was all about the social glow, the reputation boost, and that ancient version of a selfie. Looking your cleanest when the whole city was watching. The Roman Forum is the OG group chat, only with more shouting and togas. Senators sneakily refresh hot takes on the latest grain shortage, while Cicero's threads get ratioed daily. Someone's always sliding into your DMs with a dodgy Salt Empire MLM. If the forum were a group chat, the notifications would be relentless, dings echoing from the Capitoline Hill down to Julius Caesar's murder spot, which, according to Pliny, was pretty much everywhere. What started as a quiet Google Doc for organizing aqueduct repairs is now a swirling meme vortex where senators battle gladiator style for upvotes. Today's trending thread? Are the Gauls overhyped or undercooked? Crassus is trolling, as usual, dropping gifs of himself counting gold, while skeptical backbenchers roll their eyes harder than a charioteer on a pothole-riddled road. Picture Cicero painstakingly crafting the perfect clapback scroll, then watching as his oratorical masterpiece is roasted by an army of sassy meme accounts. Etubrute is trending, and someone just deep-faked a bust of Sulla doing the floss dance. It's chaos, but in a laurel-wreathed way. You've got notifications blowing up. Pompey is live posting his 7th military triumph. Cornelia is spamming the forum with unsolicited stoic quotes. And that guy from the provinces keeps replying, "Interesting point, but what about roads?" Yet, beneath the public's gif-laden jibes and emperor eye emojis, the forum is also democracy's group project gone wild. Every day, senators lob legislative subtweets at rivals, using obscure legal puns. While praetors scramble to moderate comments, this post violates the 12 tables. Deleted. Political shadow wars play out one cleverly worded poll at a time. Should the pontifex's new sandals be velvet? YN. There's a brutal hierarchy of likes. Caesar, always top of the feed, but beware the commentariat below, ready to pile on with, "Let's hear from literally anyone else for once." And lurking like a thread stalker is everyone's least favourite. The algorithm, known here as the mob. Like all social platforms, the forum is powered by outrage engagement. Senators know every speech, rant, or public fiasco needs to be just spicy enough to trend, but not so spicy as to get cancelled by the Praetorian Guard. That's the balancing act between fame and exile. One wrong emoji, and you're headed for a surprise vacation in Cyprus. Meanwhile, citizen lurkers endlessly scroll, double-tapping on gladiator memes, doom-scrolling crisis bingo, barbarian invasion, river flood, weird meteor. Local centurions slide into threads with, "Actually, I'm from Gaul and energy," instantly ratioed by die-hard Rome stans who quote Virgil at length. The comments section isn't for the faint of heart. Come prepared with your best Latin burns, or be prepared to see yourself immortalized in a wall painting as that guy who lost the bread prices argument. Let's not forget the real influencers. Vestal virgins rack up follows for their hot takes on ritual trends and abstinence aesthetics. Live streams of augury predictions. Always trending, especially if an eagle photo bombs. There are even paid partnerships. This augury, sponsored by Garum, now with 20% more fish in S. And as the sun sets over the crumbling column emoji skyline, fresh spam accounts swarm the feed. Get rich quick. Invest in Etruscan NFTs, while grumpy censors ban anything vaguely entertaining. The endless scroll continues. Old men grumble about how the forum used to be civilized. Teenagers post cryptic graffiti, and everyone's aunt shares yet another recipe for garum dip. In the end, the Roman Forum isn't so different from your favorite social feed. It's democracy's infinite scroll, noisy, snarky, and addictive in its own right. Whether you're doom-scrolling Senate drama or crafting the perfect meme reply to Cicero, one thing remains clear. In Rome, clout isn't just for the gods. It's for anyone who can keep up with the feed. You're live at the Circus Maximus, and everyone's streaming the big race. Charioteers post highlight reels, and angry fans flame each other in the comments. No spoilers, unless you overhear the bookie. The sun blazes down on a swaying sea of togas. Vous seul. Edition, and vendor trays stacked high with honeyed nuts. Gladiators can keep their swords. Today, the real action is on the track. Over in the makeshift press box, more like a couple of wine crates, stacked behind the finish line, I'm elbow to elbow with the sports scribes of Rome, all frantically scribbling on wax tablets, working to outscoop each other with the latest drama from the stables. Suddenly, a thunderous cheer erupts as Magnus the Blue, last year's dark horse, nearly upends his chariot, taking the fatal curve at the spina. Was that a javelin, or did someone just throw shade? Mutters Cassia, my neighbour, who's live commenting for the Daily Scroll. From the stands, fans wave banners in the air, team colours, inside jokes, memes from last week's disastrous practice run. In the private boxes, the senators and wealthy patrons barely glance up from their salted grapes. Privately, bookmaking, and making sly bets behind their curved fists. News spreads faster than spilled wine. Tribune Trinius, red-faced and out of breath, dashes into the fray, parchment in hand. Scandal in the green camp. Their lead racer, Lucius, was caught oiling the wheels with Greek-imported slick, cheating, or just creative engineering. The rumours race around the circus before Lucius completes his first lap. In the digital equivalent, if Rome had Wi-Fi, everyone's hot takes would be trending. Is it fair play or foul? Did you see that turn? Only in Rome. In the shadowy corners, faction loyalists huddle and strategize, spinning facts, figures, and fantasy draft picks. Next week, the Reds are subbing in Gallus the Younger. He's quick, but can he handle the glare? Meanwhile, the action on the course is relentless. 4 teams, Reds, Blues, Greens, and Whites, thunder past in deadly earnest. kicking up a storm of sand. The roar of the crowd crests each time the lead switches. You catch glimpses of the racers' faces. Sweat, grit, determination, and the wild-eyed certainty that anything less than victory spells oblivion, or, at the very least, a nasty meme on tomorrow's graffiti walls. Back in the comments section, that's real life, not virtual. It's total chaos. A grandmother in the blue seats shouts, "He cut the corner!" as a rival fan nearly spills his amphora in disbelief. The peanut gallery speculates out loud. That new Thracian driver, imported talent or hyped-up letdown? Bookies scan the odds and shout last-minute updates, while a street poet named Marcus offers wry commentary in improvised verse, his punchlines earning him groans and coppers in equal measure. The drama isn't confined to the unsand. One of the horses, rumoured to have had too much barley, decides mid-race to answer the call of nature. The incident is immortalised instantly as a scribbler sketches the scene to staple on the next town notice board. Next, a brawl breaks out in the bleachers. Not over politics, religion, or even love, but the finer points of chariot aerodynamics. An elderly scholar wades in, toga billowing, to argue that in his day, drivers respected their lanes. As the finish nears, every voice at the circus merges into a single, pulsing wave. The chariots blur, the noise shakes the stone, and for a brief golden moment, Rome forgets its debts, intrigues, and laundry. Every soul is racing, betting, cheering, living. Then, in an avalanche of hooves and glory, the winner crosses the line. The crowd erupts, bread crusts fly. Someone starts a conga line, and tomorrow's headlines are already writing themselves. But for a few magical minutes, every eye sparkles with the same wild hope. Maybe next race, their team will make history. That's your newsflash from the Circus Maximus, where the takes are scorching, the insults legendary, and every race is a battle for the storybooks. The Colosseum, ancient Rome's answer to reality TV. The gladiators have more followers than philosophers. You're expected to post thoughts and prayers whenever anyone loses a thumb. The merch drops are frankly underwhelming. So, picture this. It's Saturday morning, and you're waking up to the rumble of the crowd, the distant clang of iron, and the gentle vibration of your feed blowing up as everyone live tweets Spartacus vs Maximus. All roads lead to Rome, or at least to the digital seats with the best view. In this world, senators are minor influencers compared to Magnus the Mumio, who's amassed enough sponsorships to retire to a modest villa with his own sandal line. You don't bother checking the weather. You're more interested in whose comment section is full of angry fans debating helmet design and shield stats. Even Cicero is trying to stay relevant with daily reaction vlogs. Is this arena justice? Hot take. The audience too is transformed. No longer silent observers, they're now curators of content, snapping reaction selfies, reviewing that day's bloodshed, tagging friends. HBD. Marcus, can't believe you got splashed in row 7 LOL. Vendors, hawking grapes and wine, now offer pop-up Bluetooth selfie sticks, bearing the stamp of Emperor Commodus. A leader who, let's face it, cares a lot about trending. Between sword swings, gladiators pause for candid arena shots, tossing a wink at the nearest etching artist with a portable easel. "Catch my good side," says Cassia, sword raised, blood spatter artfully arranged. Art directors everywhere are dying. Meanwhile, the games themselves have more twists and recaps than a prestige drama. Last-minute substitutions, celebrity beasts, and emotional confessionals abound. Viewers flood the comment section with hot takes. Did you see that brush with the tiger? Scripted, obviously. The deadliest duels become the next viral challenge. lion's den, and every retiree with a wooden sword pens an explainer about what it really takes to make it in the sand. The old school types rage that it used to be about honor and survival, not followers and flame emojis. Even the lions have Instagram now, paw printing blurry snaps of their lunches. Meat every day, sponsored by Roma butchers. Stories go viral at lightning speed. Yesterday's underdog, today's meme. When your helmet's too tight and you can't hear the emperor's verdict, cue 1,000 variations. There's an official Colosseum TikTok with daily dance trends set to the jingle of chainmail. And if a fight doesn't deliver, prepare for think pieces dissecting the choreography or accusing the knee pads of being horror of horrors, inauthentic to Julius Caesar's preferred aesthetic. But beneath the spectacle, a darker undercurrent scrolls on by. Gladiators start to share real posts, bruised faces, unfiltered moments after the roar fades. Fans grapple with parasocial relationships. Do they really know Magnus? Or just the sandblasted persona? Rumors swirl, fueled by cryptic Instagram stories and ominous tweets. Is the next contest rigged? Are the thumb emoji polls actually fair? Comment threads spiral. There are passionate arguments about arena safety, cancel campaigns for unpopular emperors, and think pieces mourning the death of real gladiator culture. A group of stoic philosophers launches the Just Let Them Read campaign, but it gains little traction in a world obsessed with swords, sandals, and streaming. And even at peak absurdity, the Colosseum remains undefeated as content king. There are post-event AMAs. How did it feel to dodge a trident? Behind-the-scenes podcasts, gladiator merch unboxings, and exclusive pay-per-view live streams for our most loyal patrician tier subscribers. If your favourite is about to face a crocodile, you can donate coins for a chance to pick their next shield inscription. The blood may wash away, the sand may be swept clean, but the selfies, #filtered and algorithm blessed, last forever. Welcome to ancient Rome, where legends aren't written in the history books. They're trending on your timeline, one shaky scroll at a time. Invited to a bacchanalian feast, you find yourself bombarded by wine sponsorships. Every cup has a hashtag, and the party doesn't end until someone regret posts a toga malfunction. Step into the grape-stained sandals of today's winefluencer, where ancient revelry meets new age marketing. The landscape of wine appreciation has metamorphosed. It's no longer just about swirling, sniffing, and sipping, but also tagging, promoting, and if you're lucky, going viral on a vineyard. Imagine the grand halls of Rome echoing not with chants of Io Bace, but influencer jargon. Smash that like button if you want to see me sabre a bottle of pet nat with a stylus. The once exclusive wine tasting seminar now has an Instagram filter and sponsorship by the local boutique label, each pour punctuated by a discreet but ever-present product plug. What makes this nouveau Dionysian world tick is its seamless integration of commerce and charisma. Every winefluencer moves deftly between educating followers on carbonic maceration and reminding them of their exclusive 15% off code at checkout. The ancient gods may have drunkenly tumbled through their bacchanals, but today's deities are brand collaborations, and no sip is unsponsored. It's a fine line between taste and transaction, as the authenticity of genuine wine appreciation sometimes gets decanted alongside affiliate links and shout-outs. Let's uncork the psychology. Why are product plugs so successful among winefluencers? Perhaps it's the aspirational lifestyle, the idea that by drinking what an influencer drinks, you might absorb a little of their effortless, tipsy cool. Or maybe it's the sense of belonging, a virtual seat at the table, even if your table is actually a desk with a cleverly cropped background. Through curated feeds of rustic vineyard shots and just uncorked moments, the audience is transported. Suddenly, you too are part of a postmodern symposium, even if your actual company is your cat and a semi-clean glass. Of course, some influencers manage to balance genuine passion for wine with brand deals, weaving informative tasting notes with recommended pairings, and even deep dives into viticultural trivia. Done with finesse, these moments actually enrich the experience for those seeking guidance in a bewildering sea of labels. At their best, these winefluencers become guides through the labyrinth of bottles, demystifying what makes an orange wine funky, or how to pronounce Gewürztraminer without sounding like you need a Heimlich maneuver. But where, you might ask, is the threshold between joyous sharing and naked shilling? Here's where things get murky, like an unfiltered pet nat after a rough journey home. The relentless parade of must-buy recommendations and life-changing gadgets can sour even the most appreciative palate. Is the effusive review genuine enthusiasm, or just a contractual obligation? The commodification of authenticity is the real bottle shock. After all, if everything is sponsored, can anything be trusted? Still, for all its pitfalls, the winefluencer economy has democratized the dialogue. Never before have so many voices across backgrounds, palates, and experience levels been heard in the wine world. Gatekeepers have dropped their keys, and the feast has opened up beyond the old guard. Today, someone's viral post about a $9 discovery at the grocery store might sway more drinkers than the world's most decorated sommelier. So, as you navigate this virtual feast, cup in hand, consider what you're really toasting to: the fun convergence of ancient celebration and digital connection, or the subtle hand of modern marketing. Either way, as the hashtags swirl and the followers flow, remember, nothing kills the party vibe like a poorly timed promotion or a Toga malfunction gone live. In vino veritas, they say. Just make sure the truth isn't hiding behind a discount code. At the public baths, local hustlers try to sell you pyramid schemes. Join my Amphora Club. Privacy settings don't exist, and all the steamy gossip leaks faster than the hot water. Picture this. You wander into the grand, echoing halls of the forum baths, towel in hand and an optimistic glint in your eye. Instead of serene silence or soothing harp music, you're greeted by the cacophony of shopkeepers hawking dubious wellness lotions made from nothing more than leftover olive oil. Fast-talking philosophers pitching their latest self-improvement scroll series. And yes, an endless parade of toga-clad marketers shoving their referral codes in your face. The modern-day inbox full of unsolicited emails. Child's play compared to the Roman bathhouse, where you couldn't so much as duck under a marble archway without someone cold pitching you their cousin's third-hand Toga franchise. The problem is, you can't mute anyone. There's no handy block feature when Brutus, from 3 benches away, decides you're the ideal candidate for his multi-level amphora distribution network. Instead, you're left nodding politely as he drones on about how you can pot yourself up for life if you just recruit 12 friends. And each of them brings 12 more. It's like ancient spam mail, only sweatier and loudly echoed against damp walls for all to hear. As you slink through the mist, you notice that the gossip flows as freely as the water. From the corner whisperers to the loudly laughing senators, everyone's broadcasting the latest news, often straight from the grapevine, rarely fact-checked. Did you hear about Lucius? Swears he invented cold baths. But everyone saw him shivering yesterday. One particularly bold bather claims to know a shortcut through the Subura that doubles your real estate overnight. Offer valid for the next 5 minutes only. Sign up via chiseled wax tablet. It's the social media feed of its day, only with more body hair and 50% probability that your feed is a literal gladiator. Of course, it isn't all schemes and sales pitches. The bathhouse is also the Roman world's best open Wi-Fi hotspot for status updates. Every promotion, demotion, tryst, and market hiccup gets publicized here before the ink is dry on tomorrow's notices. Don't bother keeping a secret. One slip, and suddenly, Sevilia's botched love poem is old news by second steam. There's no DMing in the baths. If you want to share something privately, your only hope is to resort to the ancient art of synchronized coughing and strategically timed splashing. To combat the relentless surge of ancient spam, some wily bathgoers try inventive countermeasures. The classic fake engagement when approached by a particularly fervent pot repair evangelist. You suddenly remember a very important appointment in the caldarium. Others perfect the art of submersion, ducking under the hot water whenever they spot a certain sandal shuffle approaching. The more ambitious might incite a towel snap-off in the hopes of distracting the crowd long enough to slip away. In a place without notifications or do not disturb modes, physical evasion is your best bet. Yet, hidden beneath the layers of steam, sweat, and not so sly pyramid schemes, the baths remind us of the sheer human brilliance and exasperation that comes with communal living. The bathhouse brings everyone together, and in this microcosm of the city's ambitions and anxieties, every visitor is both broadcaster and audience. Forget firewalls. For the ancient Roman, the only firewall was a literal wall between the tepidarium and the frigidarium. If you want to avoid going viral, your best hope is a fast exit and a quick change in the locker room. As you towel off and prepare to brave the fora, remember, whether it's bathhouse Wi-Fi or today's digital din, some things never change. The platforms may upgrade, but the spam and the stories just get steamier. Your love life is a mess. Secret admirers use anonymous accounts, and nobody can tell if you're being ghosted or just sacrificed to Mars. That hot patrician keeps sending suspicious links. Let's back up a second. DMs, direct messages, are supposed to be where romance blooms, where flirty emojis replace awkward small talk, and the worst thing that can happen is a typo. But in our new digital wilderness, DMs are a labyrinth. One wrong move, and you're deep in the Minotaur's lair. Except, the Minotaur is a 12-year-old running a crypto scam from halfway across the world. Love used to mean mixtapes. Now it's Google Docs that might hack your credit card. We all want to believe in romance, blame Sleepless in Seattle, or the endless parade of Netflix rom-coms where two impossibly symmetrical people find each other. Usually after a series of misunderstandings that would in the real world be flagged as red flags. In DM land, red flags are actually more like beige flags. They're everywhere, but we power through, assuming they're quirks, not warnings. Enter the catfish, the digital shapeshifter. These are the masterminds weaving tales of trust, heartbreak, and the occasional, "Can I borrow $200 for a bus ticket to your city?" Historically, catfishing meant posing as a better version of yourself. Less acne, more mysterious lighting in profile pics. Now, with AI face swaps and filters that could resurrect Botticelli, catfish don't just improve themselves. They straight up become a totally new species. Your DMs aren't love letters, they're detective work. You squint at pixelated selfies, reverse image search vacation photos, and try to decode why someone allegedly living in Rome can't spell Colosseum. And then there are the love letters, not the handwritten ones, pressed with dried lavender and secret hopes, but DMs constructed out of memes and wood texts at 2 a.m. The catfish knows this. They prey on loneliness, on boredom, on your nostalgia for simple gestures. The message, "Hey beautiful, I couldn't stop thinking about you," followed suspiciously quickly by, "Do you use crypto?" Real love waits, scam love rushes. Behind every DM disaster, there's a simple human story. Someone lonely, someone bored, someone who, let's be honest, should really Google reverse image search before agreeing to send money to that suspiciously attractive stranger. The horror stories are always the same. Someone falls for a Mediterranean model/NASA engineer, only to learn too late they've sent $500 in gift cards to an anonymous address in the Ukraine, or, depending on the season, the Philippines. Yet, we keep coming back. The DM, like hope, springs eternal. Every cryptic emoji could be the start of a love story, or your password getting pawned on the dark web. Our guard is up, but our longing is stronger. We screenshot red flags, send them to group chats, and ask, is this a scam, or am I just pessimistic? Spoiler, most of the time, it's a scam. Still, there's a weird poetry in it all. The anonymous admirer, the mystery of a perfectly curated profile, the suspicion mixed with the thrill. Dating in the DM age is dating at its most raw and performative. The question isn't, did they love me? It's, did I catch the catfish before it cleaned out my Venmo? So, if you've ever pondered replying to that hot patrician's DM, maybe just ask, would you mind video chatting first? Trust, but verify. And if all else fails, remember, you can always block, report, and, if the story's really wild, tell your friends so you'll have a top-tier party anecdote. Because in this era of digital love, the worst DM disasters might just make the best stories. Buying sandals at the marketplace, you check reviews for best non-blistering leather. Every stallholder now forced to offer returns and a customer satisfaction guarantee, or risk getting downvoted by Plautus himself. It's midday in the forum, and a crowd clusters around a pottery vendor with a sign boasting 4 amphoras, 5-star reviews. The reviews, naturally, are recited in mosaic tiles below the counter. Arrived as described, but smelled strongly of wine, reads one. Would buy again, Livia C. Next to the stall, another merchant hawks olives. Hand-picked at dawn, best enjoyed with philosophical debate or mild existential dread. But a closer look at the wall, tablet reveals, stone included, not pitted, nearly chipped my tooth. 2 stars. In this feverish Roman review economy, reputations rise and fall on the turn of a single scathing verse. A cobbler, formerly secure in his craft, now anxiously polishes leather in full view. Sweatier by the moment, as a well-dressed patrician skims scrolls of recent feedback. Excessive jingling from decorative studs, distracting during formal Toga gatherings. Down the line, a thriftier competitor responds with signage. Non-jingling, hypoallergenic sandals. Endorsed by 3 out of 5 Stoics. The art of haggling is now delicately entwined with the dark threat of a review. No longer can the vendor simply charm you, flick a date into your palm, or shout, "Try," before you buy. Now, the true currency is a well-turned phrase on wax tablet. Seller was gruff, but transaction swift. Product as advertised, though receipt of purchase was in iambic pentameter. Unexpected, but appreciated. Merchants who adapt begin to offer sweeter incentives. 2 olives free with every honest review. A complimentary cheese slip for posting a positive endorsement by sundial noon. Over time, the true marketplace gladiators emerge. Those who can deliver, yes, good sandals, but also a flawless post-sale experience. Refunds are issued quickly, stamped, and witnessed by at least 1 senator. To show civic responsibility, of course. Customer service becomes an arms race. One stall employs a kid whose job is only to say, "We're really sorry you felt that way. Octavia, here's a coupon." Another runs a loyalty program. 10 purchases earn a gold laurel, not redeemable for actual goods, just public validation, which is almost better. Meanwhile, affiliate links have slipped discreetly into the fray. A philosophical teacher recommends a particular brand of garum, source of the day. And if you purchase within 3 days and recite the correct discount incantation, he allegedly receives a free oil lamp. This, naturally, raises ethical questions in the Stoa. Is the taste of garum sweetened by personal gain? Is Marcus's admiration of these tunics entirely sincere or gilded by a secret commission? Debates ensue. Pairs are thrown. Eventually, regulations emerge. A sidebar on every endorsement scroll. This recommendation may result in remuneration for the recommender. Please seek independent advice. But the system is, for all its mischief, generative. Visitors from the provinces can now reliably avoid sandal frauds and dodgy olive sellers. The good honest smithy is celebrated far beyond his cul-de-sac. The grifter whose shoes fall apart during the solstice parade is quickly weeded out by public scorn, rendering him unemployable. And as for Plautus, patron saint of salty commentary, he's everywhere. His face adorns the most helpful review medallion, awarded monthly. In the end, the marketplace is transformed, not sanitized, but sharpened. A place where wit is both weapon and currency, and where the phrase "buyer beware" is now followed by "when, but double check the ratings, and don't forget to use my affiliate code for 10% off bathhouse sponges." The Emperor's publicists spam your feed with golden selfies and humble brags. Someone probably gets exiled every time Augustus posts a bad pun. Muted stories are your only defense. New day, new decree, new trending topic. Blessed to be consul, again, hail me. At breakfast, your neighbour's already repeating Livia's latest self-care tips, all sourced from an exclusive scroll on 10 ways to glow like a goddess, sponsored by the forum's finest olive oil. If you glance up just as the sun catches the gilded statues, you'd swear the entire city is live streaming its own ad campaign, all in muted marble white and gold leaf. Scroll fast, or risk seeing Marcus Agrippa's daily routines for better aqueducts again. It's impossible to escape the newsfeed, bound together by curation and imperial decree. Everyone seems to know what Tiberius had for dinner, who Caligula shamed with a snarky vine, and which minor senator managed to photobomb a chariot parade. The algorithm is rigged. Misspell the emperor's name and expect a pop-up reminder of the correct spelling, accompanied by a fun, historical fact about Augustus, naturally. You could petition for privacy, but the only safe demand is retweeting an imperial edict. When random citizens get scouted for the next viral tribute, you keep your profile low, adopting a username like Justa Plebeian 88. Meanwhile, status means everything, and appearances are currency. Augustus does Ask Me Anything Q&As, though every question is planted by a court poet with a healthy fear of the Praetorian Guard. Your friends compete. Who can earn the slickest laurel-crowned reaction from the emperor himself? One day, your philosopher cousin gets a heart on his stoic musings. By tomorrow, he's booked on every toga-clad talk show from Ostia to the Palatine. But not all updates are equal. Your local baker posts a heartfelt story about rising at dawn to knead the dough, earning him a civic virtue badge and a hefty tax exemption. Meanwhile, a hapless chorus member complains about too many late-night rehearsals. By dusk, she's trending for all the wrong reasons. Is Rome's youth lazy? Asks headline after headline, until the real story morphs into a cautionary tale about moderation and hard work. Each feed cycle churns up a new set of victors and victims. The memes are merciless. A poorly wrapped toga becomes an instant fashion don't, with clever edits superimposing your head on Jupiter's statues, or worse, Nero's. Snap judgments turn into facts, and before you know it, you're recognized in the market. Not for your family line, but for the embarrassing capture of you accidentally spilling mulled wine down your tunic, now preserved eternally as a mosaic of shame. Still, Rome's information ecosystem relies on these updates. Each status isn't just a story, but a battle for relevance, a chance to curry imperial favor, or, if fortune scowls at you, a hazard requiring swift public contrition. And as you navigate this daily flurry, you realize it isn't just about keeping up with the Caesars. It's about keeping yourself out of their unflattering spotlight. So you refine your strategy, only like the safest posts. Never comment on policy, even in jest. Save the bread and circus photos for close friends. Most importantly, always frame your own story as modest, dutiful, and slightly less interesting than the emperor's. Because if history's really just an endless scroll, Rome's greatest survivors aren't the ones who go viral, but the ones who gracefully fade into the background, unfollowed, unnoticed, and utterly unexiled. Your favorite app, a combination weather oracle and astrology reader, has crashed again. The priests blame Mercury in retrograde. You blame too many open tabs on your wax tablet. In the ancient world, when the oracles went silent or delivered garbled prophecies, the common people lit herbs and offered goats, assuming the gods had grown restless, bored, or slightly vindictive. Today, when our apps suddenly shut down or freeze mid-prediction, we perform modern incense rituals, blowing on the charging port, turning our devices off and back on, or beseeching the digital support desk from the depths of our frustration. It seems that while technology has sprinted forward, our reactions are stuck somewhere between primal supplication and snarky resignation. It's tempting to assign metaphysical blame. Maybe it's something cosmic, a planetary misalignment, an unlucky star. Or perhaps, as your best friend texts you helpfully, Mercury is definitely in retrograde. Just don't update anything. At least that's what the digital priests, the tech support FAQs, the forum shamans, the immortal Reddit threads tell us. What they lack in ceremonial robes and incense, they make up for in memes and syntax errors. But beneath the solemn facade, the real culprit is rarely so divine. App crashes, after all, have their own nuanced mythology. Memory leaks, race conditions, arcane network errors, or that rogue update released by a sleep-deprived developer, fueled by too much coffee and not enough QA testing. You, the user, are left sifting through the digital wreckage. Is it a sign from the universe, or just the result of never closing any of your 78 browser tabs? When the app gives way, there's a split second of existential crisis. Should you take this as an omen to change your fate, or merely a prompt to clear your cache? Perhaps the most sacred of all rites in appeasing the angry apps is the universal reinstallation ceremony. Delete, re-download, sacrifice another minute of your day at the altar of the loading spinner. Sometimes this works miracles. Other times, the crash persists, unbothered by your efforts, as immutable as the Sphinx sitting in judgment, inscrutable and unmoved. You might find yourself muttering ancient incantations. Why now? Not again? Not today? While considering changing your life, or at least your phone. It helps to remember you are not alone in this temple of glitches. Throughout history, every generation has confronted some version of unreliable prophecy. Once, Priestesses interpreted gibberish from volcanic fumes. Now you interpret error messages after half reading a troubleshooting guide written in esoteric developer speak. Unexpected end of file, it whispers, as if echoing ancient riddles. Try again later. Meanwhile, somewhere far away, technicians and creators work tirelessly, their labours reminiscent of ancient blacksmith gods forging weapons for heroes. These digital smiths hammer out patches, slay bugs, and send forth updates to placate the masses. Their offerings arrive unannounced at 2 a.m., disrupting rituals both sacred, sleep, and profane, late-night scrolling. We greet these updates like oracular scrolls, sometimes with relief, sometimes suspicion, often with the obligatory backup to cloud altars just in case disaster strikes. In the end, app crashes remind us that our tools are both marvels and mysteries. They connect us to forecasts and forecasts to ancient superstitions, offering windows to the cosmos until, suddenly, they don't. And in that moment, we become supplicants, looking skyward or screenward for a sign, a fix, or at the very least, a clever meme to share our pain. The universe, digital or divine, is sometimes silent, yet hope persists. You can always light a metaphorical candle, or just your phone's flashlight. Try one more reboot, and remember those ancient words. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Walls covered in crude graffiti, love poems, hand-drawn memes, suspicious animals making poor life choices. Occasionally, a wholesome cat carving trends for no apparent reason. Wander through this new frontier, and you'll notice that these scrawled images stalk the boundaries between protest and play. Sometimes, it's just a llama in sunglasses, leaping over a cactus for reasons only the artist, and perhaps the llama, will ever understand. Other times, it's a stick figure council engaged in a heated debate about the existential despair of Mondays. No wall, bathroom stall, or underpass is safe, because when words fail, memes take up the brush. What starts as vandalism becomes a kind of populist folk art. Communities nurture their own muralists, anarchic scribblers with sharp wits, who compete for glory in the form of public chuckles and phone camera flashes. There's the infamous saga of the spaghetti gorilla, a recurring character menacing unsuspecting breakfast foods in every corner of the city. Local legend has it that if you see the gorilla before noon, your day will be blessed with unexpected snacks. But not every meme is destined for glory. The walls are equally littered with failed attempts. A badly drawn llama, its proportions mysteriously warped, captioned with a joke no one quite understands. Don't trust the cheese shoes. These curious artifacts linger for days, sometimes months, mutating as others add their own doodles or contradictory punchlines. Each scribble is a fleeting contribution to a living, evolving narrative, a collaborative art form with no final draft. That's the strange power of meme graffiti. It thrives on mutation and reinterpretation. One person's inside joke is another's launching point for a viral saga. Sometimes, the addition of a single exclamation mark or pair of googly eyes transforms an anonymous doodle into a campus legend. The simple act of drawing a llama eating pancakes can escalate into an annual pancake festival, complete with costumes and themed syrup bottles. Sometimes the graffiti outgrows the walls that once confined it. It's not just animals or cartoon figures either. These battlegrounds host political stickmen plotting revolutions, esoteric symbols that double as protest codes, and the occasional earnest plea: be kind, or at least interesting. Artistic merit isn't what wins the day. It's resonance, humour, and more than anything, shareability. The most successful memes spawn copycats, parodies, and gentle roasts that keep the walls alive with conversation. Of course, There's a perpetual arms race between the municipal cleanup crews, armed with paint rollers and weary sighs, and the meme vandals, forever dreaming up new mascots and slogans by flashlight. Sometimes, city officials bow to the will of the meme, commissioning official murals as peace offerings, only to have them instantly lampooned with additions like tiny hats or exaggerated eyebrows. Over time, certain walls become informal museums, honoured sites for the chronically online and the quietly defiant alike. The layers of paint and peeling stickers read like fossil records of humour, rebellion, and shared boredom. To outsiders, it's chaos. To the initiated, it's a living archive. Lurking at the heart of this ever-shifting ecosystem is the fundamental rule. Memes are fleeting, immortality is improbable, and relevance must be seized anew every sunrise. So, as you pass, by a rogue cartoon cat or a llama locked in a thumb war with a zone of sentient pastries, take a moment to decode the layers. This is a space where nobody quite remembers who started the joke, but nobody wants to be the one to end it. Kids are learning Latin via educational clickbait, and homework is just translating dirty jokes hidden in ancient graffiti. PTA meetings are scheduled, but nobody attends. Everyone's too busy posting about their kids' heroic diarrhea stories. Roman parenting is less tiger mom, more toga dad. The family WhatsApp group, or should we say Groupus Familia on Scrollus Maximus, lights up, not with honour roll updates, but with frantic requests for spare tunics after an unfortunate amphitheatre incident. If you're lucky, you might even catch a spirited debate about whose child invented the best form of primitive plumbing, because in ancient Rome, nothing says gifted and talented like designing a sewage canal in the backyard. School newsletters come in the form of hand-delivered wax tablets, usually melted by the time they arrive home. Little Lucius is constantly forgetting his assignments. Read, legions of spelling drills on the abacus didn't go so well. But there's always some neighbour's pet goose, conveniently to blame for the missing homework. The class pet isn't a goldfish, it's a semi-feral wolf puppy. And yes, every parent swears their little darling has a special connection to the beast, inspiring a wave of competitive parenting worthy of Virgil himself. Grades? Romans invented the concept of pass, or don't anger the gods. Report cards arrive with seals and a note from the teacher-slave, carefully worded to avoid either family disgrace or being traded for a pot of olives. The real performance review comes at the gladiator-themed spelling bee, where the only casualty is little Tiberius's fragile self-esteem when he misspells aqueduct. Parent-teacher conferences are less about checking in on progress and more about elaborate bribery. Did Marcus really eat a papyrus scroll again? Or is this an elaborate ruse to distract us from his poor geometry skills? Meanwhile, mothers, the original chroniclers, document every detail, from runny noses to award-worthy toga folding skills, then recite them publicly at the forum, just in case anyone missed their kid's big moment. Roman dads, never ones to miss an opportunity for a teachable moment, tell their children bedtime stories that sound suspiciously like credit reports. And that, my son, is why we always pay our wine merchants on time, honour and 10% early payment discount. Dinner discussions are equal parts moral philosophy and updates on who's been caught sneaking grapes before dinner. Bits of wisdom, like don't trust a Greek bearing nap-time invitations, are dispensed with a wink and a well-practiced air of gravitas. Birthday parties are another exercise in one-upmanship. Forget clowns and magicians. It's all about who can reenact the Punic Wars with the best homemade cardboard helmets. Gift bags include mini amphorae of olive oil, scented if you're that family, and a starter set of dice for polite gambling. A skill all Roman youngsters must master before puberty. Finally, if a child does exceptionally well, Rome's version of Student of the Month is a brief mention in the town crier's evening shout-out, right after updates on local grain prices and gladiator standings. For everyone else, there's a supportive pat on the back and a stern reminder that all roads lead to homework. Despite hectic schedules and marathon scroll-checking sessions, Roman parents know the real education happens after class, in the market, in the baths, and, most importantly, while rescuing your mother's best amphora from a runaway goat. Because in ancient Rome, it truly takes a village to raise a child, especially when said village is constantly debating whether goats or geese make better study buddies. End of section 14. Let me know if you'd like to further tweak the language, add dialogue, or adjust the comedic style to match a particular segment of your transcripts. Telecommuting in togas. You duck Zoom scrolls with your boss, who always appears with a suspicious amount of incense in the background. HR is literally a head priestess. There's a lot of confusion about sick days and goat sacrifices. It started innocently enough. Work from the villa, the announcement read, followed by an emoji of an olive branch. Some thought it was a joke. Others, an olive extended peace offering after last week's grape-stomping team-building exercise, left 3 interns purple for days. But soon enough, the entire Roman organization was clutching styluses next to cold cups of mulsum, trying to decipher pixelated oracles in their group scrolls app. There's no water cooler, just the communal aqueduct, which is slightly less effective for overhearing office gossip, but very refreshing on a hot day. Still, office politics thrive wherever there's a quorum. There are alliances between supply clerks waging passive-aggressive wars over spreadsheet territories, and the one chronically late senator who always blames a chariot, traffic, jam. Even though everyone knows he teleports in from a rented hut overlooking the Tiber. Daily check-ins have become weekly rituals, complete with priestly incense and the faint chanting of the IT manager, who moonlights as an augur. "Sorry, the network's down," he intones, examining the entrails of yesterday's breakfast quail. Are these outages random, or was someone angling for the next promotion by sacrificing the company's only functional Wi-Fi goat? No one's willing to ask. Remote performance reviews are punctuated by ominous prophecies and the occasional cameo from someone's grandma who thinks the scroll is a scrying glass. Promotions are handed out through cryptic omens. A dove lands on your windowsill, or you receive a message saying, "Jupiter has noticed your increased productivity." Meanwhile, demotions come in the form of accidental CCs to the Senate. If your name is misspelled 3 times in 1 week, consider this a warning. Dress codes persist. Sure, you're at home, but the company line remains. Tunics must remain within regulation length. No vine-stained togas during client calls. The bold have tried toga optional Fridays, but this is still hotly debated on internal message boards. Then there's HR, centuries ahead in ambiguity, requesting a sick day as a dice roll. Will your fever be met with a sympathetic herbal remedy? Or will you be summoned for ritual purification at the Temple of Apollo? PTO is a mystery known only to the Oracle of Delphi HRMS system. When you finally get approval, you're not sure if you've been given time off or assigned to lead next month's Saturnalia festivities for the new hires. Back-channel communications are rampant. Encrypted pigeon messages crisscross the city. The mysterious leaks about who forgot to recite the code of conduct 3 times under a new moon almost always trace back to the same junior scribe looking for a fast track into upper management. Even remote, the backstabbers are innovative. Last week, someone turned off notifications for their rivals' group scrolls, leading to total anarchy in procurement. But it's not all bad. Remote work has its perks. No one can see if you've paired your official toga with last year's gladiator sandals, and everyone's learned to fake a decent laurel crown filter. The monthly company-wide games now include a Best Toga from Home contest, judged by the senior centurion, whose own home is suspiciously reminiscent of a suburban two-bedroom patio. Ultimately, working remotely from the forum isn't so different. It's just office politics with a laurel-scented twist. Ambition, intrigue, and the endless quest for approval cycles. Some things are truly eternal, whether you're commuting via dusty Roman roads or clicking join on the next all-hands scroll. It's Rome's biggest sale day. Every store is hawking half-price garum and sandal bundles. The checkout line features a philosopher debating if anyone really needs 5 olive oil diffusers. Elsewhere, the forum is throbbing with the sound of competitive bargaining. A fishmonger, usually gruff and implacable, now cheerfully tosses in a free anchovy with any eel purchase, waving off questions about expiration dates. At the entrance to the emporium, a sign proclaims, "Buy 2 tunics, get a third one slightly stained." And already the eager crowd is 3 deep at the toga racks, arguing about the merits of off-white versus really off-white. Near the pottery stall, matrons armed with coppers and iron-willed determination square off for the last crimson amphora. The tension sizzles. One grandma wields a rolling pin, the other a terrifyingly large bunch of leeks. The stallholder simply nudges his scale a little heavier, hoping nobody notices, silently counting down the minutes until siesta. Children buzz around with sticky fingers, clutching honey cakes from a pop-up vendor who, for today only, will wrap them in commemorative wrappers depicting Romulus, Remus, and the she-wolf with a shopping basket. The sheer volume of merchandise defies description. Statuesque busts, now with optional laurel wreaths. Philosophy scrolls promising one weird trick to achieve stoicism, and aroma satchels boasting the real smell of the Palatine. Though seasoned shoppers know to avoid those after last year's essence of goat debacle, bagging help comes in the form of glum, underemployed poets. For a sesterfius, they can wrap your perfumed salves in envy green fig leaves while muttering caustic epigrams about consumerism. The air is thick with haggling, laughter, the odd insult, and the official Emporium herald repeatedly shouting, "No returns, all sales are finally final." By midday, a new madness descends. The chariot parking lot is full. Drivers, stuck behind double-parked goats, set up impromptu dice games as they wait. Market guards promise to tow incorrectly stationed carts, which, in practice, means rolling them 4 feet into the sun and charging for shade. Over by the cosmetics alcove, a clever entrepreneur demonstrates her hand-powered lead foundation blender, promising Roman beauties that whiteness is just 3 layers away. Meanwhile, a group of baffled senators inspect a display of imported Egyptian wigs, trying to decide if curly is now in or just barbaric. One whispers, "It won't tangle in the breeze, will it?" while another surreptitiously checks if his bald spot is showing. A stand. Selling novelty mosaics does brisk business. Each tiny tile spells out messages like "Carpe Venum" and "I came, I saw, I shopped." Tourists from distant provinces ask for Roman bath gift sets and are carefully upsold herbal sponges, bath oil, and a tiny bust of Venus winking seductively. Even local thieves are overwhelmed by the chaos. One pickpocket sheepishly returns a pilfered sausage, realizing it's yesterday's lunch special. Caught up in the spectacle, even the most sensible citizens loosen their purse strings. Office clerks, professional mourners, gladiators, and poets all jostle in line, united by the simple thrill of a markdown laurel. The atmosphere is heady, a swirl of old coin, perfume, and unstoppable determination. Yet somewhere in the madness, a lone Epicurean can be heard from the snacks aisle, debating, out loud, if a half-off fig is truly worth savouring, or simply the illusion of pleasure dressed up as a bargain. As dusk falls on the emporium, the crowds disperse in a flurry of rustling bags and triumphant cries. The philosophers, exhausted and slightly poorer, finally concede that perhaps 5 olive oil diffusers were excessive, or that maybe the real bargain was the lively debate they sparked in the checkout line all along. Your census info has been leaked again. No one is safe from ancient hackers, and everyone's data is sold to the local fish sauce conglomerate. Password: SPQR34. If you ever thought hacking was a problem of the 21st century, think again. The Roman census, believed to be the gold standard in data gathering, mainly because they invented the archive by locking it in a concrete vault and then flaming anyone who asked for public access, was itself a prime target. After all, when you're keeping track of who owns property, who owes taxes, and the exact number of goats in Trastevere, you're sitting on a veritable treasure trove of confidential information. The only difference, when the data got leaked in 27 BCE, it was on clay tablets, and the hackers were disgruntled scribes armed with a particularly aggressive stylus. Back then, the modus operandi was simple: sneak, copy, bribe, or, if you're feeling dramatic, set fire to the census office and blame Carthage. The average Roman citizen walked a tightrope between wanting their name on the official rolls for inheritance, social status, and that sweet spot in the military draft queue, and hoping, desperately, that their neighbour wouldn't notice that their villa had mysteriously expanded by 3 courtyards right after tax season. But the farce didn't end there. Even emperors, supposedly insulated by layers of praetorian guards and papyrus bureaucracy, weren't immune. Augustus reportedly lost a list of citizens of notable virtue to a shadowy cabal of palace slaves who, in a move worthy of any modern black hat forum, promptly used it to score invitations to every dinner party in the city. Moral of the story: no matter the century, social engineering trumps encryption, especially if you're waving a tray of roasted dormice. Fast forward to today, and not much has changed, except now. Our compromised privacy comes in gigabytes instead of scribbles. Our census data, like the Romans, promises anonymity and statistical abstraction. In practice, of course, it means a persistent and baffling level of specificity. Add 3 goats in Trastevere. That'll show up in next season's targeted olive oil ads. Move to the provinces. Expect wine merchants to know before your mother does. Information is still traded. Policies are still made. And somewhere, a fish sauce conglomerate is still inexplicably involved. Modern cybersecurity experts, armed with whiteboards and the unwavering conviction that every problem can be solved with a password longer than your average epic poem, try to convince us that we're safe. Change your passwords monthly, they cry. Install 2-factor authentication. Forget that. The average Roman would have traded an entire amphora for a password that didn't immediately end in the year of their birth. The average modern user still picks password 123. Some things just never change. Which brings us to the question: why is census data such an irresistibly juicy target for hackers, be they toga-clad scribes or keyboard warriors? It's simple. The census contains the nuts and bolts of society, where people live, what they do, who's really running the show behind those respectable front doors. When this info leaks, chaos and opportunity follows. Whether you're a rival senator angling for public disgrace, or a bored teenager selling encrypted mailing lists to regional fishmongers, there's always someone eager to turn knowledge into power. And yet, for all our firewalls and biometric locks, the basic lesson remains. The weakest link isn't the server, it's the citizen, the one who fills in census occupation, chariot influencer as a joke, or downloads census forms from a very suspicious Pompeii, geocities.com. Ancient Rome, it seems, has more in common with modern cybersecurity than anyone cares to admit, not least the undying fascination with other people's secrets. So, next time you get a letter from the census, just remember, whether you lived under emperors or algorithms, protecting your data has always required more than a clever password. It takes vigilance, a healthy dose of paranoia, and, occasionally, a willingness to entertain the possibility that your neighbour is currently selling your wine preferences to a shadowy network of Etruscan ad agencies. Welcome to cybersecurity, Roman style. Networking now means getting invited to underground cult meetups. Business cards are clay tablets, and the secret handshake is suspiciously complicated. Somebody always brings gluten-free offerings. The Mithraeum is lit only by oil lamps and the anxious glimmer of people wondering whom to approach first. You enter, clutching your cuneiform LinkedIn profile, hoping not to drop it in the sacrificial fire pit. The cavernous room hums with the low chatter of professionals from all walks of Roman Londinium life. Toga-clad scribes, sandal-wearing entrepreneurs, a surprisingly competitive centurion with an eye for artisanal hummus. Every conversation begins the same way. An awkward icebreaker, a joke about having survived the Saturnalia party circuit, and a quick exchange of clay nameplates. Instead of a coffee bar, there's a stand offering goblets of Mithraic wine, notes of lead and vague regret, and a selection of locally sourced olives that no one dares to eat. You stand in line, rehearsing your elevator pitch. I'm a freelance augur, specializing in bird-based trend forecasting, which gets nods from fellow diviners and panicked glances from grain merchants. The pressure to be memorable is intense. One wrong interpretation of goat entrails, and you'll wind up at the kids' table with the snake handlers. As the evening progresses, subgroups form. Alchemy startups in one corner, real estate speculators betting on the next aqueduct boom in another. You weave between conversations as sacred chants echo lightly, adding a slightly menacing soundtrack to your pitch about reintegrating druidic mindfulness practices into the daily grind. Have you heard the good news about artisan talk jewelry? Someone whispers, sliding you a hand-etched brooch and a papyrus leaflet. Sponsorship opportunities abound. The public relations team from the local villa development is handing out monogrammed amphorae, while an up-and-coming charioteer demonstrates speed networking by circling laps around the outer pillars. Announcements are made by a robed figure at the center altar, who taps a bronze gong for attention. Attention, all initiate entrepreneurs. Lightning round of secret password trading begins now. The anxiety spikes as everyone tries to remember if they learn the correct incantation. Does it involve the word tauroctony? Or are you thinking of last week's cult mixer with the Bacchus fans? The food table becomes a microcosm of alliances and rivalries. You watch as a senator's assistant and a promising mosaic artist both reach for the same piece of honeycake. A brief, chilly moment before they agree to co-host the next Equinox Symposium. New contacts are sealed not with handshakes, but by sharing a ceremonial pomegranate seed, which immediately raises the stakes for anyone with allergies. Your social strategy pivots. You decide to camp near the main altar, hoping to coincide with the introspective mood of late-night attendees. This crowd is already deep in philosophical debates about the future of Roman innovation, whether the wax tablet is truly disruptive technology or whether the true secret to productivity is an ergonomic laurel wreath. You nod sagely, pretending to consider your own laurel expense account. As the evening wind downs, the senior cultist offers a benediction disguised as a networking toast. May your ventures flourish, your gods be generous, and your competitors mysteriously relocated to the provinces. The laughter is nervous, all in good fun, unless you're the one tasked with explaining to HR why someone is now building temples in the Hebrides. You make a few more last-ditch attempts to swap rune-stamped tokens before the lamps sputter out. You leave the Mithraeum feeling oddly accomplished, balancing fresh connections with existential questions about your place in Rome's gig economy. One thing's for certain. Next time, you're bringing your own gluten-free ritual bread, just in case the only thing left at the end is a suspiciously sticky amphora of networking mead. Some things never change. Group chats devolve into hot takes, bad puns, and that one guy, always Brutus, posting hot dog chariot memes at 3 a.m. You'd think technology would evolve us past the age-old ritual of social chaos, but here we are, thousands of years down the digital colonnade, and the public bathhouse has simply been ported over to our phones. Where once Romans would huddle on heated marble benches, steam swirling between their philosophical arguments and gossipy jabs about Gaul, now it's all thumbs, emojis, and GIFs. There's always a Seneca among us, trying to steer the conversation back to some noble purpose, only to be derailed by someone dropping an out-of-context octopus sticker. Let's be honest, group chats are less about the sharing of vital information and more about a collective performance. The bathhouse roast migrated seamlessly into the group DM, except now the crowd is thousands of miles apart, and our towels are badly cropped profile pics. You know the roles by now. There's the oversharer, who bombards the thread with every fleeting thought. Guys, should I try oat milk? And then, minutes later, update. It tastes like disappointment. Sometimes it feels like these dispatches are shouted from the far end of the caldarium, ricocheting off digital tiles until they hit the wet blanket, who simply replies, "Cool." Then there's the historian, lurking in the background, ready to dredge up that one time you pronounced quinoa as quinoa. In ancient Rome, these people were literal scribes. Today, they screenshot your blunders for posterity. Hot takes? Group chats are powered by them, the way olive oil fueled Roman lamps. Someone dares to ask, "Pineapples on pizza, is it barbaric?" And suddenly, the chat explodes. The thread fractures into factions. Pineapple advocates, pizza purists, and the inevitable troll who insists anchovies are the only valid topping. Your quiet friend Marcus, who hasn't spoken in weeks, unexpectedly writes a 500-word treatise on the geopolitics of Hawaiian pizza, and then disappears for another lunar cycle. The scrollback feature is now your only hope of piecing together what started as a call for movie night. The memes, though. Memes are how we wage war and make peace. Brutus, yes, always Brutus, will inevitably escalate the meme arms race. Ancient graffiti inspired poetry. Today, it's dank memes about Emperor Nero's haircut. A clever jab landed just right can spark a 20-comment thread of Shakespearean quality banter, or, just as likely, a GIF tidal wave that renders all previous conversation unreadable. In Rome, graffiti decorated the bathhouse walls. Today, it's your notification banner lighting up at 2 a.m. But in all this hot, digital steam, the group chat serves a deeper need. It's a place for ritual vulnerability. The banter, the roasting, even the bad puns, all ways of signalling you're in the tribe. When the day's work is done and the notifications pile up like laurel leaves after a parade, we wade into the bathhouse, scroll back, and rejoin the session. Maybe no one listens closely. Maybe everyone's skimming while silently prepping roast comebacks. Still, we gather, test boundaries, share in the ridiculous, and remind ourselves that we belong, even if it's only to a group of friends who will never, ever let us live down that one typo. And so, the bathhouse roast lives on, transplanted to Slack, WhatsApp, group texts. We may have traded the tepidarium for the touchscreen, but some things really are eternal. The names change, the memes mutate, but the ritual remains. A space to swap jokes, start arguments, and keep the Roman spirit of camaraderie and chaos very much alive, preferably for all to see at 3 a.m. A Vestal Virgin gets cancelled for allegedly using a fake relic. Rome loses its collective mind, and the drama spills into all your scrolls until someone invents a trending tab to contain it. At first, it started with a single whispered rumour among the forum goers. Did you hear that Calpurnia, everyone's favourite Vestal with the luminous smile, wasn't using a real flame in last week's sacred rites? The whispers spread faster than a chariot race on Free Bread Day. Soon enough, Rome's designated busybodies, aka amateur gossips and chroniclers, fanned the flames into full-blown outrage. One satirical poet quipped that the relic looked like it came from a workshop on the Via Loqualitius, and within an hour, Vestal Virgin Gate was scratched onto wax tablets across the city. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion. Rome's proto-pundits, always on the lookout for the next scandal, weighed in from their marble perches. Some claimed this was the greatest atrocity since Julius Caesar added an extra month to the calendar. Others saw it as an opportunity to write very earnest, open letters. As a lifelong admirer of the Vestal Order, I am deeply disappointed, became the phrase du jour. Friends stopped friends on the Appian Way. Did you hear? Calpurnia's relic glows, but does it flame? Within a day, obscure craftsmanship guilds issued statements clarifying how authentic relic certification worked. The aforementioned trending tab. The city's scribes tried inventing one by lumping all the wax tablets into a separate pile. But to no avail. The drama bled into every discussion, from the Senate's grand debates to tavern brawls over watered-down wine. Gladiators even incorporated jokes about fake relics into their pre-match banter, while local artists started sketching memes. Calpurnia, holding a relic, side-eyeing the gods. One influential orator, a self-styled culture critic, called for accountability, demanding a thorough inquiry by the College of Pontiffs with daily updates. The hashtag took on a life of its own, upgraded from whispered disapproval to full-on public spectacle. Street vendors peddled fake relics of their own, claiming, you guessed it, definitely not like Calpurnia's. Kids carried around little makeshift flames, imitating the Vestals while chanting, is it real or is it Calpurnia? Rome hadn't seen such widespread parody since the time someone unleashed a flock of painted geese in a senator's bathhouse. For Calpurnia herself, the fallout was swift and merciless. Accounts differ on whether she tried to issue a public statement or simply retreated behind the temple walls. But rumour had it even the other Vestals were mulling whether to unfriend her at midday meal. Scandal historians would later cite Vestal Virgin Gate as proof that Rome's culture was destined to eat itself in a never-ending cycle of outrage and performative virtue. But as with any good drama, the story had layers. Cynics whispered that perhaps certain rival priestesses had stoked the fire for their own gain, while realpolitik types speculated about which senator would exploit the situation for a new round of religious reform. Skeptics pointed out that fake relic exposes always conveniently appeared just as tribunes needed a distraction from grain shortages. Before long, shouting matches erupted over whether cancellation was just an excuse for jealous rivals to settle scores, or if this truly was a battle for the soul of Rome. By the time the furor finally died down, replaced by a fresh outrage involving a runaway sacred chicken, Rome had collectively learned exactly nothing. Circulating scrolls would forever mention Vestal Virgin Gate as the moment everyone realized even the holiest among them could be brought low by a well-timed rumor and a catchy hashtag. Julius Caesar may have crossed the Rubicon, but Calpurnia trended on every scroll in the city. In the end, the relic was quietly declared ambiguous, and life in Rome lurched on, even if Calpurnia's career as the city's trendiest Vestal was, for lack of a better word, extinguished. But her legacy remained, immortalized in graffiti, gossip, and everyone's favorite trending tab, Vestal Virgin Gate. You order dinner online, it arrives 2 hours late, cold, and possibly cursed by disappointed layers. The review would not summon again. What today we call delivery disasters, the sigh-heavy tales of wilted fries and unfulfilled tracking promises, would have sounded eerily familiar to our Roman counterparts. After all, the rich in Rome were no strangers to outsourcing their cravings. Want roast dormice at midnight, or mulsum delivered before a symposium. The expectation was clear. Wealth brought you reliable service. Or at least, it should have. Instead, reality often delivered with the same slapstick unpredictability of a lost moped driver in a city with 24 Via Apollonias. Take, for example, Faustus, a poet whose taste for Sicilian honey was matched only by his penchant for complaints. In one letter, scrawled, notably, in a script so rushed it appears to have been written from atop a galloping mule, he laments the absence of his promised sweet gift. The honey, ordered via a network of enterprising muleteers, arrived liquefied by the noon sun and defended by bees that had organized into a phalanx outside the amphora. Faustus's review, if it had a 5-star rating system, would no doubt have dipped into the negative. As he writes, "The honey of the gods does me little good when its guardians remain legion." This, as it turns out, was not a one-off experience. The act of sending, delivering, and receiving mushy falafel or fast literi, whether dinner or dispatches, hinged on the same frail infrastructure. Unreliable fleets, queue-jumping bribes, and roads congested by everything from ox carts to overzealous praetors, policing imaginary emergencies. The result? Letters from emperors delayed, plaintive calls for refills of garum lost somewhere near Capua, and one report of an entire legion's supply of lentils being accidentally rerouted to the retirement resort at Baiae. The uniquely Roman solution, formality layered over farce, orders dispatched with solemn incantations, and, if rumours are to be believed, the occasional bribe or hair-pulling tantrum thrown in for good measure. Messengers carrying torches and excuses, apologising for delays due to omens or unfavourable entrails. The metaphorical and literal tons of papyrus thus wasted on receipts. Receipts for receipts, and poetic complaints about who had, in fact, eaten the last of the spiced sausages along the Appian Way. Yet, for all the foibles, there was a dash of kinship in these delivery disasters. Excelling at expectation management, Romans would lean into gallows humour. The general who received a roast peacock 4 days cold would reply with a poet's wit. A peacock must surely be immortal if it survives 2 bakers, 3 kitchen boys, and this journey from Tiber. Storefront hawkers trained in mercurial arts would offer same-day service or your sestertius returned, minus the cost of curses. The written record preserves an abundance of these sly, world-weary laments. Martial, never one to resist a good jab, immortalizes Rome's bumbling couriers and their labyrinthine ways with the pen-stroke equivalent of a side-eye. Even Caesar's most urgent letters, entrusted sedulously to trusted men, could wind up taking a circuitous route that included a surprise detour through a friend's villa, because, after all, hospitality trumps haste. So, next time your late-night falafel arrives, shivering in its wrapper, Think of the many Romans facing their own cold comfort food after a chorus of apologies and omens. Some things, namely, the eternal dance between hope and logistics, never change. In both worlds, the ultimate review rings with the same resigned clarity: would not summon again, unless truly desperate. You join a mass livestream for Jupiter worshippers. Everybody's angling for divine intervention and good Wi-Fi. Some guy in the back can't mute his sacrificial goat. The chat explodes in a flurry of prayer emojis and unintelligible text, as if divine favor might be algorithmically assigned to whoever spams fastest. The host, high priest, low bandwidth, appears in grayscale, backlit by a flickering sanctuary lamp. He grins awkwardly, glitching every time he raises his hands to the heavens, as if the gods themselves are throttling his signal. "Oh, mighty Jupiter, bless this channel with subscribers and super chats," he intones, voice synced 3 seconds behind his lips. You navigate pixelated temple mosaics, framed awkwardly by someone's out-of-focus webcam. Digital incense wafts by in the form of swirling .gif overlays. In the comments, someone asks if Jupiter answers tech support calls. Another demands, "Mods, please smite the trolls." The request is promptly ignored. The trolls remain steadfast, pelting the high priest with ASCII thunderbolts and speculative conspiracy links about rival pantheons. A self-appointed deacon influencer pops into the frame to hawk new temple-branded prayer shawls, now with QR code, and reminds the faithful to like, share, and light a real votive candle for optimal prayer reach. Worship, you discover, is a hybrid affair. Equal parts solemn invocation and frantic clickbait. The ancient rituals compete with on-screen donation meters climbing ever skyward. Is that a miracle, or just the algorithm at work? The camera pans to a row of initiates, each preparing their offerings. There's a guy waving a pizza box like a burnt offering. A grandmother in front of a shrine of household cleaning products. Jupiter, patron of order. And yes, the goat holder, who is still valiantly failing to keep his animal from gnawing on the Ethernet cable. As the blessing begins, everyone lifts their phones. You glimpse hundreds of tiny screens, devotees multiplying like tabs in your browser. "Let us pray for more followers," intones the priest, narrowing his eyes at the subscriber count. In the bottom corner, a pop-up window announces a new follower, Thunderbolt Gal 99, eliciting a cheer from half the chat and instantaneous jealousy from the other. The priest thanks Jupiter for small mercies and larger engagement metrics, while the sacrificial goat seizes the moment to bleat into the mic, temporarily derailing the entire ritual. Still, the community carries on. Suddenly, the stream stutters, and the chat panics. "Buffering is not a sign," someone shouts, but others are already typing frantic invocations. "Oh Jupiter, smite the lag." The priest reassures them, "Calm your hearts and check your connections. Faith and fiber optics both work in mysterious ways." A moderator posts the sacred troubleshooting incantation. Have you tried turning it off and on again? And relief flows through the chat like cool rain. Throughout it all, you sense the spiritual unity in this pixelated chaos. The faithful are separated by distance, bandwidth, dialect, and the occasional farm animal. But here in the live stream, their voices blend together across servers and time zones. It's not about who brings the grandest offering or types the fastest prayer. For a moment, even the trolls fall silent as the priest offers his final words. May Jupiter watch over our feeds, grant us clarity, and prevent catastrophic app crashes. Amen. As the live stream fades, you witness the true miracle. Not divine intervention, but a fleeting, genuine sense of connection. In a world that never stops buffering, sometimes faith means trusting the signal will, against all odds, come through. The August forecast, smoky, with a 60% chance of Visigoths. Emergency scrolls go out and everyone stocks up on salted fish. Home office settings, maximum gloom. The weather app, previously content with predicting mild drizzle and the occasional gust of improper wind, has developed a taste for the dramatic. Now, what was once a simple question of whether to carry an umbrella has escalated. No longer are users greeted by smiling cartoon suns. Instead, a notification lights up. Severe barbarian warning in effect. Stay indoors. Keep your salted fish close. Do not antagonize the omens. At first, people tried to ignore it. Just another one of those new notification features, they said, quietly updating their scroll's privacy settings for the 100th time this month. But when the crows circled in suspicious geometries overhead, even the local skeptics, those who typically scoffed at predictions of cataclysm in the same breath as half-price amphorae, began to take note. A cultural unease pervades the weekly marketplace. Tradesmen negotiate behind broad shields, measuring silver by moonlight for its alleged resistance to plague. The corner fig vendor wears a laurel wreath for purification, he claims, though everyone suspects it's to hide last season's haircut. And everywhere whispers. When someone sneezes, a hush falls over the square, broken only by the soft clink of dried fish being hoarded into baskets. The Home Office, once envisioned as a place of mild distraction and low-priority scroll work, is now a bunker in miniature. Curtains drawn, inkwells at the ready, and every communication beginning with, "I hope this finds you in robust health and favourable humidity." Entire departments have become experts in the semiotics of ravens, decoding each core as either accounting error or approaching doom. Upper management, ever quick to read the wind, organises emergency meetings, which are just a polite way of running in circles until someone brings out the preserved olives. Perhaps most impressive is the way the city collectively leans into the absurdity. Local artisans, sensing a new trend, carve plague-proof charms out of repurposed roof tiles. Street poets compose epic ballads about the various flavours of weather-related catastrophe, with verses like, "O smoky sky, thou bringer of both drizzle and unrest, let thine mist cloak us from marauders and minor disappointments alike." Of course, there are always those who thrive in 3 blocks down, a merchant has repurposed his inventory to offer genuine anti-Visigoth talismans, now with 20% off if the app's icon is flashing an ominous red. The blacksmith next door taps out a new special, half-price lock upgrades for customers who can prove they've panic-bought grain at least twice this quarter. And in every household, routines evolve to match the mood. Family meetings open with weather readings, more trusted than any senator's decree. Board games themed around impending disaster become all the rage. Roll a 5 or higher to avoid marauding. Draw a card. Oops, you've run out of salted fish. Miss a turn. The weather app continues its reign, each day inventing ever more creative combinations. Chilly with a chance of omens, or partly cloudy, possibility of great disappointment before noon. There's a knowing wink in each prediction, a sly acknowledgement that truly, the only constant is uncertainty. And maybe, just maybe, the best survival strategy is to laugh, stock your pantry, and check the app again in the morning. So we hunker down. We share tales of storms and survival through cloudcast scrolls and hasty messages scrawled on bread. The app's alerts become less a source of panic and more a ritual, an excuse perhaps to pause, light another oil lamp, and wait for the all clear, or at least a forecast of possible improvement after a brief Visigothic interlude. An influencer offends the emperor. Within minutes, their exile gets more likes than their last olive oil unboxing. Everyone posts vague subtweets about loyalty. In Rome, exile wasn't just a sentence, it was a status update, and the timeline loved nothing more than a good old-fashioned public shaming. Picture this. 1 minute you're the talk of the forum, your toga freshly pressed, and your stories lit with amphora emojis. The next, you're trending under Banish Me, and your rivals are liking the Senate decree a little too enthusiastically. The Senate's official cancellation, scroll stopping at the best of times, was their version of a group unfollow, only with fewer chances of a comeback tour. The real action, though, was in the comments section. Well, the equivalent in papyrus graffiti and murmured gossip. At the public baths, senators, poets, bored merchants, they'd all heard, and suddenly everyone had an opinion. Did you hear what happened to Procula? Shouldn't have called the emperor's sculpted bust mid. There'd be shade thrown in coded language, delivered in hexameter, naturally. The unlucky exile's friends, or at least the ones who hadn't already DM'd the Praetorian Guard with new phone, who dis, would quickly post their own takes, remaining neutral in these trying times. Stay strong. This is on Jupiter. Meanwhile, the imperial propaganda machine would spin its own narrative. Official bulletins dripped with plausible deniability. Rome wishes Gaius well as he pursues quiet time on his private island, far away from the hustle and bustle and any witnesses. Newsboys shouted headlines at street corners. Famous orator forgets loyalty, remembers island hopping. The emperors, ever conscious of optics, calculated each banishment for maximum online engagement, the ancient version of clap back. After all, what fun was supreme power if you couldn't curate a feed of flawless devotion? Yet, for those exiled, the story didn't end with public disgrace. No. The drama only leveled up in the provinces. Overnight, they'd go from influencers to cautionary memes. Merchants in Gaul would sell. I got exiled and all I got was this lousy tunics. Schoolchildren would rehearse their reasons to keep your mouth shut at dinner parties, and bards would churn out catchy tunes lampooning your last ill-judged, wine-fueled rant. Your enemies back in Rome, meanwhile, might sigh and declare, "We miss them," but only when other people were listening. And of course, as with all viral content, the memes would spawn takes upon takes. Is exile over? Scrolls would circulate, analysing whether so-and-so was set for a limited series redemption arc. Opinionated scribes would debate, was the emperor too harsh or not harsh enough? Some cynics whispered that it was all engineered for distraction, bread, circuses, and cancel culture, as eternal as the Seven Hills. What about those dramatic returns? Every empire loves a comeback story, and occasionally, the algorithm favoured a skilled exile. Cue the re-entry montage. Clandestine alliances. A little bribery. A lot of personal growth. Maybe you'd show up in the forum, donning your most somber toga, promising you'd listened and learned. Maybe you'd even leak a tearful apology scroll. It would get passed from hand to hand, all the way back to Rome. In the end, the cycle rolled on. New stars rose. Fresh blunders went viral. But in the heart of the world's first influencer capital, one lesson stuck. Cross the emperor and you better hope your exile has good lighting for those dramatic departure selfies. Let me know if you want tweaks or if you want footnotes on specific Roman exiles. As darkness falls, you attempt to log off. Except the log-off process involves actual logs. You realize it's peaceful, but also a little alarming knowing your neighbor keeps butt-dialing the gods. The city winds down, but logging off in ancient Rome isn't just a matter of swiping your finger. No Siri, no passwords, just an armload of firewood or a borrowed branch from that one tree Jupiter may or may not have zapped last week. As the city's noises lower to a gentle background buzz, merchants ferrying their last amphoras, distant laughter under strings of lanterns, some guy loudly recapping gladiator fan theory, your mind tries to disconnect. Except actual disconnection is tricky when divine spam keeps winging its way into mortal life. You set down your torch and hope, for once, Bacchus doesn't call in drunk. You change into your sleep tunic, loungewear if you squint, roll the wax off your stylus-penned diary, and attempt to clear your cache, which in Rome is suspiciously similar to handling chamber pots. All that's left is to sweep up those lingering metaphorical cookies, crumbs of odd encounters, overheard prophecies, lingering anxiety about tomorrow's chariot traffic. You blow out your last candle, all natural beeswax, artisanally dripped, and wonder, briefly, if inventing light switches would increase your peace or just get you hexed by Vestal virgins. Your neighbor, the one with all the divine connections, appears in your consciousness again, snoring thunderously through the wall. He's pulled an all-nighter messaging Apollo, expecting a response, a miracle, or maybe just Wi-Fi, strong enough to reach Tuscany. You try to tune it out, but Rome isn't much for privacy. Walls are thin, rumors contagious, and even the night air feels like it clings to your business. There's a comfort in the chaos, though. As you drift, you marvel that every soul around you is also desperately trying to unplug. Some read scrolls, some invent bedtime rituals, a few open windows, and serenade the moon like it's their TikTok duet partner. You wonder if anyone ever really logs off. Did the senators mentally quit at sundown, or did their worries chase them into dreams of toga malfunctions and angry mobs? Did poets draft midnight tweets to imaginary muses, plagued by tomorrow's deadline, and the ever-present threat of a seagull stealing their lunch? Maybe the Vestal virgins swapped gossip in hushed tones, inventing the first DM chains, messages swallowed by shadows and secrecy. For all its stone and marble, Rome's nightlife has a soft perimeter, a gentle overlap of human frailty, divine curiosity, and a dash of slapstick misadventure. The gods' push notifications are relentless. Bad omens, bird formations, suspiciously coincidental weather patterns disrupting your umbrella. Logging off, here, is really a negotiation, a courteous request that fate pauses its updates, at least long enough for you to catch some shut-eye, just as you exhale, congratulating yourself on not catching fire. Your foot brushes a forgotten laurel wreath. Another missed reminder, another notification. You laugh to yourself. Maybe ancient Rome never intended for anyone to have peace of mind. Maybe oversharing is part of the historical contract. So tonight, as you nestle into your clean, Wi-Fi-enabled bed, with nary a plague, data breach, or gladiator EDM remix outside your window, spare a little gratitude for the Romans who lived and overshared, long before you. Sure, their scrolls didn't freeze and their memes weren't digital, but the drama, chaos, and relentless push notifications from the gods, that's eternal. Sleep easy, knowing you survived a virtual day in Rome with your dignity mostly intact. And remember, history is weird, people are even weirder, and somehow every generation finds new ways to embarrass themselves, usually in public. Good night, and may your own notification feed be forever blessed and mostly troll-free. So tonight, as you nestle into your clean, Wi-Fi-enabled bed, with nary a plague, data breach, or gladiator EDM remix outside your window. Spare a little gratitude for the Romans who lived and overshared long, long before you. Sure, their scrolls didn't freeze, and their memes weren't digital, but the drama, chaos, and relentless push, notifications from the gods, that's eternal. Sleep easy, knowing you survived a virtual day in Rome with your dignity mostly intact. And remember, history is weird. People are even weirder. And somehow every generation finds new ways to embarrass themselves, usually in public. Good night, and may your own notification feed be forever blessed and mostly troll-free.